Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Supernatural Strength Channel here, the Fat Lad Neil Pickup in the mother fluffing house. And it's part 2 of the Toddzilla story. For those of you who didn't catch part 1, get yourself down to the description. I'll put the link in there. You can go back, check it out. Todd, good to have you back on, mate.
I'm always happy to be here, Neil.
I'm getting quite attached to the pictures of the vehicles in the back. Walk me through a bit, mate. What we're looking at here? This is
my work office, and the pictures behind. This is the wall of shame. These are products that the company sold before I got here, and I put them up there. Anytime some salesman's got some bright idea, I show them some of their failed products that they've done. The rest of the office are trucks that we've designed since I've been here. So. There's a lot more successful products since I've been here than when I got here. So I've been here 5 years and basically had to build this department from scratch. Even though the company was 30 years old, I still had to build the department from scratch. And
it's not changed a lot, you were saying. With COVID-19, you've not had many cases over there. You've been coming in every day. No sort of...
I've been coming in every day, working fine. Everybody that's been working, just a week ago, they said if you work... For 6 weeks during the COVID, we were working fine. There wasn't any changes. They didn't want us having a lot of meetings in conference rooms, but that was about the only change. Then a week ago, they said, well, if you're working, you got to wear a mask if you leave your office.
Okay.
I go, for 6 weeks, I didn't have to wear a mask. Now that we're getting a handle on it, I got to start wearing a mask. It didn't make sense.
Yeah, just a bit of a political move.
Absolutely.
So in terms of... in your area then, have you still been able to train, go to the gym, or is that all shut down in that area of the States as well?
My complete gym's in my basement, so my training hasn't changed. I train before work and after work, so it hasn't actually. Some of the people from work now come to my house in the evenings to train in my basement because Todd's gym never closes and we serve liquor. So.
That's one of the bonuses there, ladies and gentlemen. Todd's gym, get yourself over there. So have you been able to get any time on the table at all?
No, two people that have reached out to me. They're going to hold a big practice. But to be honest, I've only been, since the W.A.L went to Supermatch Series, I've only been practicing once every couple of months anyways on the table. The Supermatch is one person,
How do you go on with your frequency of training, mate? Do you find that because, people may not know, but you're sort of 53 now, Todd.
I am. I will turn 54 in a few weeks.
So 53 years old at the moment, you're in a situation where it's fair to say, you could be accused of even past your prime years, yet there's no sort of indication of that on the table. You seem to be right in the thick of it, mate, as, with the guys from anywhere from 25 to 45. Makes not a scrap of difference, really.
I started at 35. I've never had a prime. I've been on the backside of the mountain since I started.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because in it's kind of like heavyweight boxing. I think you can mature later into arm wrestling, and certainly probably the weight class things similar again. Do you think that's easier when you're a guy who's very power heavy like yourself? You're very much the guy that stops the match rather than tries to initiate and light people up,
I think so. I think, to me, arm wrestling like weightlifting, being in your 40s isn't really a disadvantage because you've had a lot of years to put a lot of bone and muscle into your body to get that power. If you're a strength-based puller, the highly technical folks who throw a lot of stress and strain into the wrists and stuff, maybe they don't have the longevity, or the people who rely on that hit because I think you might tend to slow down as you get older. You definitely slow down as you get heavier. But I've never been fast anyways. So, my deterioration in speed didn't really hurt me any. So.
Yeah. Have you found that as you've progressed through the sport, your training's varied quite a bit in terms of I'm talking about your table work now. Do you train differently on the table? Do you tend to work more attack, more defense? Because I can't imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't imagine too many guys come over to train with you on the table or you go there and they're able to do a great deal with you. We've seen that with guys like Devon and so on. They're having to be on the defensive most of the time. How do you go on with that, mate?
I usually Just hold people. I almost never pin anybody in practice,
Mm-hmm.
and try to hold them in center or try to hold them in a slightly losing position, and then just I'm working on constantly being defensive. But yeah, there's not a lot of ready go hitting stuff. Let's see. Other than that, and I do a lot less table time now that W.A.L is in a super match format instead of when it was a tournament format. That's my phone ringing that I'm not answering.
Yeah, no problem.
But when it was mostly tournament based, I do a lot of table time stuff because I wanted to be able to adapt pretty quickly. But now that it's super match stuff, I usually know I got one or two ideas on how the match is going to go ahead of time and maybe a backup plan. So that's really all I really need to work on for a super match.
Do you tend to study your opponent a great deal in terms of where you perceive their strengths and weaknesses, or are you that guy?
Yep. I got a whole YouTube channel that's nothing but Matt Mask. I got a different one for Ron Bath, one for Devin, one for Marcio. So when the W.A.L announces my opponent, I create a YouTube channel of just their videos, and that plays the whole time I'm working out. So I watch those videos over and over again.
That's great.
And see what works against them, what doesn't, that sort of thing. I had the Jerry Caderet video channel, and about the only thing useful in it was the Devin Lorette video on how to beat Jerry Caderet, because I go, yeah, I'd do everything those guys did. The Jerry Caderet channel was pretty boring because it was pretty much the same match every single time.
That's really good though, because it's like you've got motivation there while you're training, as well as subliminal learning. You're looking at the guy, able to break him down and so on. Who were the guys that you found most stylistically challenging?
Matt Mask and Marcio were very hard. Matt Mask just because of how he's built and how he hits, and Marcio because I knew he was a good top roller. But in the back of my mind, I go, that son of a bitch is going to throw me into a hook. Here I'm preparing for a top roll, and he's going to throw me into a hook. So those are the two that scared me the most. Although Jerry did surprise me when he stopped the flop and just went into a shoulder roll. Because I wish I would have reacted completely differently had I known that was possible. But you live and you learn. All this stuff is a new experience for me.
It's interesting. I want to pick up on the heavyweight transition thing as we go through this, mate. One of the things that I'm quite interested in, you mentioned there about how you train differently when you're prepping for super match versus main draw. It's funny, we had a show, you probably haven't seen it, we had a show called In the Presence of Greatness, and we had Travis on there, Devon, Michael, Engin, and there was like some pretty passionate debate around the difference between super match and main draw. And one of the points in there was, I think it was Devon that originally raised it and said you would train differently for super match versus main draw. So it sounds very much like you sort of advocate that route. Travis and Engin weren't sure whether that's something that would make any sense or that anybody actually did. Just walk me through your sort of perception on that, mate.
Okay. Well, if I have to win a tournament, all right, I know I'm probably going to come up against, I pretty much know who the top 4 people in each class are, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to have a couple of people that probably pull inside, and I got several people that are only going to pull outside. So I got to be able to pull equally well on both of those styles. And depending on the draw, I might get the worst match guy after I've got some miles on me or something. So I need all around ability, not so much to get strong and initiate it, but I need to be able to pull pulling Matt Mask. If I've had a couple of tough matches and he didn't, I would pull that completely differently than if me and Matt are fresh for fresh, or if I'm fresh and Matt's wore out.
Sure.
So if I got tournaments that, and the W.A.L was all tournament based, I'd spend a lot of table time stuff, But now that it's just a super match, and there really aren't that many super, what do you call it when they can do more than one thing? There's not too many super multi-dimensional pullers out there, Everybody has like their main bread and butter move, like myself. Then they got one that they might do if it's really rare, be like finding Bigfoot at the buffet or something,
Yeah.
So
you're like
Marcio was scary for me because Marcio was, he's adaptable enough, and Devin, Devin worried me because I kept expecting to get into one of those deep twisting hook battles with him. And I just wanted to make damn sure my forearm wasn't pointed up when we were in it. I wanted to make sure my forearm was pointed sideways if I got into a hook with Devin. So in the back of my mind, plus all that worry makes me slow anyways. But if it's just a super match, you know, then okay, I pretty much know what that guy's going to do because I've been watching videos of him. You know, if I got 15 years of videos on somebody, they're not going to come out with a whole new style in the next 2 months. You know what I mean? They're going to pretty much pull the way they've been pulling the last 2 or 3 years.
Which do you think you're more suited to, mate? Do you have a leaning towards one or other? Do you prefer one or other?
Well, I won 4 hammers in tournaments, and I haven't won a single hammer in super matches.
But a different weight class, to be fair to you.
But I prefer super matches. Those tournaments just got grueling. You know, they kept shortening the time for the weigh-ins. One time they made the tournament go over 2 days. They put those huge breaks in the middle of it. You know, if they'd just run a tournament start to finish, run it all the way down to the champion, I would do a lot better in that than when they have an intermission and they bring you back and they run it down to top 4. Then you take an hour off and then you run the last 4. That's the stuff that was killing me in a tournament. That would actually make me more tired than the actual pulling. Yeah.
So super matches are your prep. Do you think you're stylistically better suited to a super match?
I think I'm better prepared for a super match than how I was preparing for a tournament.
And it seems like by nature.
You got to be pretty cognizant on your diet and your rehydration, all that stuff. If you're going to pull for 12 hours, that's a completely different physical exertion than if you're going to pull 5 3-minute matches. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a completely different physical capability.
And let's just dispel a few myths, all right? If you hadn't been sort of asked to go different weight classes or in agreement with that at all, what's a walk-round, comfortable, everyday weight for you?
Since I started arm wrestling, I started in the 198 class. I pulled 175 at one Harley pull, but the whole time I pulled the 198s, I was about 210. And then when the 198 weight class became whatever the 100, to 205, 209-ish, I've been about 215, 220, and now I'm 225 today. So my overall walking around weight's always been in the low 220s.
Yeah, so you're actually quite well positioned to transition across the weights a little bit. One super interesting thing for me with your style of arm wrestling, or the style that you've created for yourself, which it has to be said is pretty unique. You're you're definitely a pretty unique stallion in that respect. There's not many people do what you do. Do you think that gives you a better opportunity of transitioning across the class? Because when we talk about this, and when people have talked about this on the shows recently, the limit, a lot of the expert opinion seems to sort of point to the biggest limiting factor being structure, frame, levers, size of hand, length of forearm, and the like, the old arguments. You don't really care about that. It's not something that, and I remember speaking to you about Matt. Remember that conversation we had on the W.A.L this week? And you were saying quite like pulling him because he's got to come all the way. He's not going to be used to coming all that way down to come down to where I'm at. And I don't mind, if he's extended, if he's opened himself up to get to where I'm at, then I've got that advantage because I can stay really tight. What's your sort of take on that? Do you think you're very well suited to transition across weight classes?
The geometry difference is always a problem with me. The taller people are, but I think what helps me transition across the weight classes is I don't give up a lot of strength to the super heavyweights anymore. I've pulled enough of them now that, even when I was making 209 and pulled the super heavyweight, I go strength for strength, I'm pretty close, Whereas if I pull somebody from the 165 class, they ain't close to me, But so just being able to have that power gives you some confidence in something, And I'm definitely not a technical based arm wrestler. So losing my hand, getting out of position, getting my knuckles a little low doesn't cause me to go into fear like it does these top roll only type folks. So that probably helps. But still, the weight and the strength in the different weight classes wasn't so difficult. It's just the arm sizes, and I'm giving up all that hand because my fingers, I got a smallish hand for the middleweight class, but I got a tiny hand for the super heavyweights.
Yeah.
You know, so I just don't get much of their hands. So everybody, you know, as much as I get top rolled in the middleweights, I really get top rolled in the super heavyweights.
But do you think, but your obvious propensity to move so hard to the side, do you think that's allowing you to instantly open them up a little bit further if they're a guy with a long lever?
Yeah, what I try to do is, I don't care if they break my hand back as long as my hand ain't faced up.
Flat.
If they break my hand back and it's still up, well then their hands kind of broke back too. The difference is I don't care. So if we stop in the center and both our wrists are kind of broken or flat, but I can still pull sideways from there. The top roll guy is trying to get that hand position again, and he'll fight for hand position all the way down to the pin pad.
Yeah.
You know, so that tends to work. But, you know, the longer I'm in this class, the less opportunities I'll have to get away with that. People will just, you know, counteract it. So a lot of my success in the super heavyweights is probably people underestimating me and just not adapting because, you know, they were bound and determined to get that hand position, and they're probably expecting me to give it up at that point. You know?
But it's a great set of sort of ace cards to be able to play, isn't it? When you've got, you know, best in class strength, certainly at middleweight, and to be fair, pretty much right there at the heavyweight, as proven. You've got a situation where you're exceptionally strong, therefore, in that orthodox power position, and yet you've made your B move, your sort of fallback, is being comfortable where it's uncomfortable. That's what you do really, really well, you know. So once you get into that lane, if you both go at it orthodox and you end up in that uncomfortable, broken open, busted back spot, you sort of seem, another day at the office. You're absolutely happy there.
More often than not, I know how that movie ends. So I like it when the movie goes there.
And the other thing, you got great endurance as well. You know.
Yeah, a lot more in the old days than I do now, but yeah, I can usually hang with them for a while.
I mean, I know we had that interesting conversation, again, on the World Armwrestling League this week interview, where you were saying about endurance being a percentage of your maximum, depending on where that is. But you may not be the cheetah, but you're certainly the gazelle. You can go at like 80% for a long time. And I've seen you in some matches where you really scrubbed up. I remember, Quinlan and yourself, Lefty, was a very long, drawn-out battle. And also Nicholas Nanastad with a left-hand match, where that was another absolutely screamer. You were all over the table for, got to be a minute and a half match. Great match, absolute battle.
And if that Nicholas match, if that was the one from Robert Drankley, that was also the one where I had Alan Ford for what seemed like several 3-minute matches too. Man, that was a rough day for me.
Yeah, you've certainly managed to come through some difficult starts. I remember the one with Rob Bidgent Jr. as well, when you lost in the heat, came back, won in the final. It's interesting being an arm wrestler that can sort of fight through that. So many people you've been on so many YouTube clips, winning horrible wars. So you become famous for doing that, for the guy that's either in that screaming power war or you battle through someone. Did you notice that as your sort of notoriety started to become more and more widespread, that when you went to tournaments, people were already a bit concerned about you? Did you find anybody was still attacking you where you were strong? Was anybody, or would you find a guy that's been hooking for the last 10 years suddenly become a top roller?
That did happen. It was, that happened early. Probably my second or third year in South Carolina, I stopped getting people pulling me inside, and everybody would start top rolling me. And I think it was my third or fourth year when people would start like laying down to me, and I'm still nervous. You know, I'm still nervous when I go into a tournament, even a middleweight tournament, and I'm favored to win. that probably makes me more nervous because now I
Yeah.
got more to lose. So I still go into the matches like everything matters, and I'll get ready and I'll slam into somebody, but he didn't tell me he was giving it up, and then he just disappears. And I was like, dude, tell me if you're going to do that. I won't. But yeah, when people started laying down to me, I said, man, you got to tell me that. I won't get all freaky on you, But that happened about 4 or 5 years into it when I first started getting people laying down to me,
Who was the last guy in North America that attacked you like for power, that chased you where you're strong? Can you remember? Has anybody done that?
Man, if I knew this question was coming, I'd do more research. But I think it was both Tom Nelson and Chris Chandler at that same U.A.L tournament.
Okay.
I think it was both those guys, because I think both of them threw me inside, and I don't. Now, Chris Chandler actually, and so did Mike Aiello. Mike Aiello threw me into a hook at one of Dave Morocco's tournaments that he had, and I can't remember which tournament happened when.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not so. Right now, I just expected someone's just going to top roll the living daylights out of me, so I'm prepared, to not throw so much, to just make sure my knuckles stay high, And the strap makes that easier too.
And when was the last guy anywhere that you sort of went into that position in and around your weight class, where you went into that hook position and thought, "Oh, this guy's real. One is real."
Spartak Zoloff beat me in a hook our first round in Russia, and then Rustam Babayev did like 6 times in a row. And Rustam's a guy. God, you always replay those in your head, and I go, man, I should have tried the straps. That was that wicked fast start stuff, and I never felt I was into it. But had we been tied together, I wouldn't have had to been relying so much on jumping on go, because I would have been dragged into it. But both those guys just dove right inside every single time, and I was whatever that is, 209 at the time.
The Spartak match, you came back and beat him, didn't you? Or have I got that wrong? Yeah, I thought
I beat it.
Yeah.
I beat the Zoloff brothers and the Tokarev brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, and I beat the Brzezinski brothers. I'm creating a scrapbook of all these brothers I've beaten in my career.
Laying to waste.
Pair of brothers that I beat. But yeah, I've got wins off both Zoloffs, both Tokarevs, and I beat both John and Bill Brzezinski.
So let's focus on the sort of Europe America thing a little bit here. Obviously, you had the experiences in A1, you had experience in Zloty Tour extensively. To be fair, you're the guy that has been over there and travelled to those events. It's fair to say probably found your feet a little bit in those events and progressed through them as well. I mean, let's just go there a second. When you first went out, what was your first experience of then I think it was Nemiroff Cup when you first went out there? What year was that you first went, mate? It wasn't 04, was it? Was it 04?
Probably not. I got the shirt hanging up in my basement, but I can't remember. It was around there, 3, 4, or 5, something like that. I was in South Carolina at the time, and I hadn't been there very long. It was the year. It wasn't the first year all the Americans went, because there was a year when John and Ron and Travis.
Yeah, that was 04.
I went the year after.
The year after that, so we're looking sort of 2005, 2006 period of time.
Yeah.
In and around that area, mate, what was your first experience of the Nemiroff Cup like? How did you find it through you a bit format-wise? Were you comfortable there? What was the whole
things that I didn't like was my first year there, I was comfortable with everybody but Babayev. And then later, that tournament seemed to get harder as I went more. I don't like how they threw all your competitors are sitting right next to each other the whole day waiting to go on, and those huge audiences and all those big production things, that kind of always threw me off a little. I prefer tournaments just held in somebody's garage without an audience. But mostly those competitors, that style is And the American style back then, this is way before W.A.L. with their new grip. It used to be you would grip up tight and fight and fight and fight, and the refs had to muscle your hands around and everything, you know, so you're all preloaded and go. Where over there, they get the same grip no matter who you are. They loose grip you, they don't load. Arson would grip like his index finger on his thumb and not even really clamp on my hand. My hand can move around, you know. Arson just got hit, you know, and fired from it every time. I don't think he cared who he was pulling. I don't think, you know, that was hard for me to adapt to because they were wicked fast going from that no load to just blasting into you. They develop a lot of momentum that way. And that loose grip allows them to move a little bit, you know, before. And that's some strict refing with those you know, you got the table ref and cameras, and I think you got 2 or 3 refs watching the cameras. I mean, that's some super strict.
Breaking the screen down into like little boxes and then going up after the match and analysing the boxes. Like, oh yeah. In like row 6, frame 10. if you look. Holy shit. That's
a whole different class. Where in America, we keep trying to figure out ways to let you get away with more and more fouls. And over there, they're eliminating them, you know.
We can, your elbow lifts up, we can black out the room for like a second.
Yeah, you say, well, the worst is, yes, you can elbow foul if you didn't get position. Or if it wasn't very high, or if somebody didn't see it, and it's like, Jesus, you know, it takes a psychic nowadays to figure out or you can elbow foul if you're famous, but if nobody's heard of you, we're going to call it.
Oh, he's gone there. Tucked in Devon Larratt straight away. Awesome stuff. Mate, what was sort of, when you pulled against the Zoloff brothers, let's just focus on that for a minute, because obviously at that time when you faced Hadji in the super match, that was like a massive match. Everybody, it was sort of like the coming out party of who's the man in the hook. You know, everybody, because he had the wins against Rustam. Prudnik wasn't where he is now, wasn't there really in that conversation at the time. So it was very much that, at that weight class, who's the guy? Under sort of 200 pounds, who's the man? Did you feel confident going in based on prior? Was that the first time you'd ever pulled him for a start, or had you pulled him in an open draw?
No, that was the first time I ever pulled him. I think that was after he beat Jerry in the overall. And remember, I pulled the little Hadzi. I didn't pull the 210-pound version. I pulled the 176-pound Hadzi. But he was dominating that class. So the sort of information that was out there was wrong. I heard he went up to 187 pounds for that match. Is that not the case? Oh, he might have. You don't weigh in together, and the way, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I was just saying that the Hadzi today is a lot bigger than the Hadzi that I pulled. Okay. Yeah. I have no idea what he weighed that day. Mm-hmm. I know we were in a day before the match. He came out of the hotel and he was going to go out on the strip for something, man. He showed up in a pair of gym shorts that were like blue and white vertical stripe, like what your mom would dress you up as if you were a sailor, and a matching shirt that was blue and white.
You were a sailor. Awesome.
You know? And it was like, you know, he wasn't speaking English, and it was like me and John, we grabbed him and said, somebody got to tell you can't go out just like that. You have to go put something else on.
Awesome. You know? If you're not playing tennis in the 1970s or in a porn film, they don't work.
Right. But no, I was worried. I was scared. And when the first match, and to be honest, even though he's hooked everybody up until that point 100% of the time, in the back of my mind, he goes, yeah, now he's going to top roll. So I still got to be worried about it. Mm-hmm. But he'd throw the hook in, and after that initial go, it faded, and all of a sudden I go, oh, I'm pretty comfortable here. So that, you know, so once you're comfortable with your strength, you got a little more leeway on what you can do with your hand. You know, if you know you're not going to get flashed, you know, once you have your hand into it, yeah, he can try and top roll out or press or something. But as long as you can always keep pushing that match up towards the center of the table, you got a lot more confidence in yourself. So that also takes away the fear of of getting flashed from a really wicked hit. So being stronger than the other guy is always a good feeling.
Yeah, it's a good look, isn't it? In arm wrestling, it's never a bad thing, mate. What were the major differences you spotted technically between Hadji's approach to the match and Rustam? I mean, first of all, were you in tip-top shape, do you believe, when you pulled Rustam? Were you where you wanted to be, or?
I was as strong as I could have been. I wasn't their first choice. They did an interview with me, and how they interview you is they send you the questions translated from their normal language into English, so it's kind of messed up, and then you type back the answers, and they present it like it's an interview. And the big running joke was, I'm just so glad I was chosen I wasn't your first choice, or their second, or their third. I mean, I think they done ran out of people. I think I think they only got around to me because I was like the only guy alive that they could think of anymore. I think I was like their third or fourth choice, you know. Yeah, if I pulled him again, I would do whatever I had. Now it's harder in that league, but I'd do whatever I could to go into the straps. And cause I watched how Prudnick would jump into a hook with him and stuff, but I'm just telling you, dude, I don't know when he was launching. I don't know when they were saying go, but I am telling you, I was smashed into the pin pad before I ever started, you know, and I can't. And to pull over for what I have to do, I got to get my whole forearm, elbow, shoulder tight, you know, so if they do hit into me, I got some resistance there, but you got to leave that hand loose because, boy, any motion whatsoever and it's a foul, you know, it's real hard style for me to adapt to, and I don't pull it that often, you know, but it's the same crap they go through when they come here, you know, and they're used to being a super technical reffing, and then they get our reffing style, which is a little bit loose, you know, so it's different styles.
Did Ruff carry it, Todd, or did he sort of go the route where he just after his first pin he thought, okay, it ain't broke, I'm not going to fix anything, and just hit you the same place every time? You just couldn't deal with that pace.
I haven't watched all the matches, but what it felt like to me was he just repeated the exact same thing every time. So it was for the belt. It was for Igor's belt. So I mean, he didn't want to give that up. Yeah, he's a bad man. That Rustam Babayev is a bad man. I mean, my hat's off to him. I'm very impressed and in awe of him.
Is it a match you'd like again?
Oh, probably not. I'm done with those little guys. If I'm going to lose, I'd rather lose to a guy who outweighs me by 100 pounds. I don't want to lose to somebody who I'm 100 pounds bigger than, you know.
Is there anybody in North America, in your opinion? I mean, there's obviously a lot of chat around whether a focused RVJ could do anything with those guys. What's your take on that? Do you think Rob's got the tools to create a different set of problems? He's obviously experienced as well in pulling fast arm wrestlers and had some success with them due to the hand control. Do you think he could do anything with the likes of Hadji, with the likes of Rustam?
Well, probably. You know, there's they've been pulled. There's a lot more material out there to prep for, and he would know more, and he could, because it'd be because nothing saying Rustam or Hadji would pull RVJ the way they pulled me, right? So, and it might work out. And Rob, if Rob got I think those guys would hit quicker than Rob, but you know, Rob doesn't freak out when he gets into a losing position like a lot of outside pullers do, so he might be able to drag it back, but and Rob would have the ability to mimic the way Prudnick pulled Rustam, you know, where I didn't, because me and Prudnick are built differently. Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot more. Rob would have a lot more options to try against those guys I did.
Yeah, really interesting answers. Really appreciate your insight on that, as I'm sure a lot of people will, mate. Obviously, you're a guy who can speak with first-hand experience of these guys, you know, and so you're basically saying that you do believe that Rob is strong enough to potentially win that match.
He is, but on the flip side, You know, just like there's video of me pulling those guys, and Rob's pulled me, and you can watch my video of those guys, of me pulling them. Those guys have pulled me, and there's video of me pulling Rob. So what I'm saying is those guys just might mimic the way I pulled Rob, while Rob's gonna do something different. So it's they are world level arm wrestlers, and when you get to that level, it's just really hard to make a prediction if you can't put them next to each other. You know.
Yeah.
But typically in that situation, you know, it's almost never close. It's usually a blowout one way or the other, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, Rob's got a shot. I don't know why he's never tried it, you know.
Here's a question for you, mate. A lot of discussion around the difference between European arm wrestling and American arm wrestling, stylistically. Forget the format, forget the referees, and so on and so on. This is more around training regimes, more around when the athletes are actually at the table, how they approach the match, technically their hits, their setups, and so on. Just give me a bit of your sort of feelings and thoughts around that, mate. Do you see that? Do you think it's, because I've heard some people say, it's bullshit, it's a myth. You know, it's just somebody propagated this myth and it's run away. Do you agree with it? Do you think there is a real stylistic difference across Europe and the US in terms of the approach to the sport?
There's definitely a stylistic difference in the lower weight classes between North America and the Europeans. I don't know so much about the heavyweight classes, but just in the matches I've pulled with, when I pull in North America or Canada or on this side, you know, when somebody closes on my hand, I feel their finger pressure on the back of my hand. I feel them getting in position, and I feel resistance with them. When I pull over there, those guys might as well be grabbing the skinny end of a fishing pole. There's nothing. They set up, they close their hand. Like I said, they close their hand real open. They're not putting any pressure on me whatsoever. There's a little gap in your palms. There's a gap all the way around their fingers. And they fire off from there. Alan Ford would sometimes try to really, really loose grip me. But you can't do that in a strap. You know, in a strap, you're not loose gripping anymore. But that whole firing from zero load, you know, they're all about that initial hit, that initial momentum in the classes I pulled. The super heavyweights, when I pull the foreign super heavyweights, they feel like American super heavyweights to me. They close my hand, you know, they squeeze my hand, they've got all of it, but that's not saying when Denison Plinkoff grips my hand, he grips my hand the same way he grips Dave Chafee's, right? So I can't talk to the really, really big, but when I pulled Semarenko, he pulled a lot like a European middleweight, real loose grip, real, you know, and I just think that they're loose in their upper arms too. Where when I pull them, since I'm so afraid of their hit, my whole shoulder, upper arm is tense. You know, I don't want them to hit. If they're going to hit into me, I want them hitting into something, muscle that's already contracted. I'm not so sure those guys. I think those guys might be completely relaxed. They might be like a boxer throwing a punch versus, you know, a bench presser actually pushing a heavy load.
Interesting stuff. Talk to me about, in fact, let's wind this back a bit first. Let's talk about one other middleweight stroke transitional heavyweight that's risen to prominence of late and your experience with him. And that would be Evgeny Prudnik. Obviously, a lot of people, highly touted individual. A lot of people think he's like the second coming of John Brzenk in terms of having that versatility, him being a little bit smaller to start with and now sort of progressing up. How good is Prudnik, mate?
Prudnik's awesome. I think he's small for the super heavyweights. I think if Prudnik would have been around 20 or 30 years, it would have been different. But now your super heavyweights are 400 pounds, and you know they're not that soft anymore. But yeah, Prudnik's he's another bad dude. He's got enough height on him, you know, so he'll be able to go farther than say Rustam did. Just Rustam was limited by his height, you know. They might have relatively speaking, the same amount of talent and potential, but, you know, Prudnick just being taller is going to be able to carry a lot more weight. And Prudnick's got some more versatility to him. You know, he'll pull outside as well.
From what you felt when you pulled against Yevgeny and what you felt when you pulled against the likes of Devon Larratt, Matt Mask, do you see any opportunities there for one to dominate the other, or again, very hard call in your mind?
I think Prudnick would do better against both those guys than I did. I think technically he's way better than I did, and I wouldn't be surprised if his strength is about where mine is. So wow. I think Prudnick would do better against both Mask and Devon than what I did.
If you had $100 in your pocket, where's it going?
That Prudnick wins 1 out of 3 or wins all 3 out of 3?
Just wins the match. Give me your score prediction then. Devon Larratt versus Yevgeny Prudnick. Who wins and what score?
If it was pre-King's Move Devon, I think Prudnick would beat Devon. The King's Move's relatively, I don't know if the King's Move is new enough over there. So that's an odd thing. But I think if with Devon not in the King's Move, I like Prudnick's chances against Devon for $100. For $10,000, I would hedge, but for $100, I would probably pick Prudnick.
Okay. Same question around Mask. Does Mask have any shot with that speed? There's a lot of people have said, you know, they've gone out there and said Matt has no chance. He wouldn't be in the hunt.
I think Prudnick will stop Matt. Because Matt knows when he gets stopped, he's got to do something different. But I think, like I said, I think Prudnick's strength is higher than mine, and his hand's certainly better. Yeah.
And as we've seen, he can pull busted back. We've seen him do that in a number of matches and for a long, long period of time. Interesting answers, mate. Right then, back on yourself. Yeah. Back on yourself. Okay, so Todd, let's talk about you and the heavyweights, mate. Let's talk about the big boys.
Okay.
I'm going to mention a few matches that I really like, and I want to get your feedback on these, okay? Yeah. First one, Ryan Espy and yourself.
Yeah, that's the one I'm kind of preparing for because W.A.L kind of hinted that was coming. I suspect that will be like my Matt Mask match, only with a way, way bigger, stronger person on the other side. I've already got my Ryan Espy YouTube channel, and I've already watched it, so I'm kind of preparing for that. And I changed my whole workout expecting to pull that match, and then when they postponed the season, my training kind of went down. But yeah, the way I'm training for the Ryan Espy match, or potential Ryan Espy match, is completely different than how I was training going into the Matt Mask or the Jerry Cadrat match.
Very interesting stuff. Here's one for you. This is because I really like the Ryan match, but I like this one too. Wayne Withers, Todd Hutchings.
I know the name, but I don't know a lot about it. That would be something I can't comment on. And dude, just because I don't know your name, don't flame me or anything. I will go learn your name, and I will watch your videos today now that Neil mentioned it. I myself, I know the name. I've heard people talk about him, but I'll be honest. If him and 2 other people were sitting in your studio, I wouldn't be able to pick him out from the other guys.
Yeah, because Wayne's a giant. Wayne's like, I think, 6'6", 6'7". What I've been watching of him, I've been keeping my eye on him for a couple of years now. And, yeah, he's a big lad and he's impressive. Got some good wins. I mean, everybody talks about the win against Mask, but, I think he's dangerous for a lot of people. And that will be a very interesting matchup. So that's another one. And, yeah, check him out, mate. That could be on the horizon as well.
You do know that I'm not exactly the entry level. I mean, I paid my dues in the super heavy. I beat people, right? You don't get to you're debut match in the super heavyweight shouldn't get to be against me. You should have to go beat Ron Bath and Marcio and Matt. It's other people first, right?
They may well have to do that, but Withers,
yeah, I'm
just
not
like
the champion, but damn, I'm not the welcome mat. You know what I mean?
Right, here we go. Let's get serious. Michael Todd.
See, I'm undefeated against him. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that.
Yes, I beat him at the AAA Nationals. Ron Bath took first. And Michael Todd took third. But that was at 198. That was when Ron Bath made 198.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that press, that shoulder roll he sometimes does off go does scare me. But that King's move, really, I mean, I just have no way of developing. I don't have anybody around here who can do that. I don't.
Yeah.
So if that was ever coming, I would probably, if W.A.L said 3 months, it's that, I would probably move to Maryland and go live at Dave Morocco's house.
Mm-hmm.
He's got enough crew there that could have the ability to do something against that.
Yeah.
But the W.A.L table is like tailor-made to kill me with a King's move, right? Because I can't move forward to center, and you can move all the way back. And then if you're tall, not only do you get to place your elbow at the back edge of the table, you can then rotate. So someone like Michael Todd could probably hold his hand off the back edge of the table, and hell, I can't even reach that. You know what I mean? A good King's mover like him could probably pull me off the front of the elbow pad. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and that's the thing. I would have to develop. Because I've heard what Devin said about fighting the Kings, and he's given 2 different scenarios on it. I've heard what other people said, but I can't do what Jerry does against it, and I give up just the geometry of the situation forces me to do different. I would probably attack him like John did at that UAL tournament in California a long time ago. Just if he drops into a King's move, I try to fight it in the center of the table somehow. Because what I learned against Devin was I can't drag them out of it, and I just feel so to press into it when they got so much real estate backwards to go, and I can't control their hand, so I can't. Unless if I could do what Jerry Caderet could do, that would be different. But that's a difficult puzzle for me. But I'm a long ways from challenging the champ. There's a couple of people between me and the champ. I know my place. Okay.
About Hermes Gasparini.
I don't like those tall, flashy top rollers, but I'm learning how to deal with the top rollers. If I get on the other side of Ryan Espy, I probably won't be so much worried about a super tall posting top roller anymore. Matt Mask was real impressive against them. They weren't giving Matt, what Matt get, like a 50-50 chance or a 40-60 chance, and that was mostly from people who spoke his language. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Saying they didn't give Matt a lot of respect going into that match, and he came out looking pretty. So
yeah, I thought that was a real 50-50 deal for me mentally. I just thought whoever gets it, and it's going to be, they're both serving aces. Another match I love for you, if he could get back fit, if he got back to, and I'll have to check out his progress, but the word on the street is that he was on his way back to prominence, would be Sylvain Perron.
Oh, I think I was supposed to pull him back in the Travis Bagent, NAL days.
Never happened, did it?
Long match I had with Marcio. I think I was supposed to pull Sylvain way back then.
Yeah.
I've met him. I've talked to him a few times, never pulled him, so. But back then he liked to be inside, so that's where I was kind of hoping to pull an inside puller.
Yeah, I'd love to see if he could get himself back really strong, get back to the level he was formerly. Oh my God, that could be an absolute blinder. Now, one last one before I let you get off here, mate, because I'm conscious I'm taking your time while you've got work to do. But what about Lachlan Adair from Australia?
Well, he beat
Talk to me
Ryan.
about that guy.
Well, he beat Ryan, so I guess if Lachlan could do anything with Danny Tesh, I would be aware. But I won a W.A.L hammer when Danny Tesh was in the W.A.L. So I don't fit anybody out of Australia.
I can understand that entirely, mate. There's nothing else needs to be said. The fact that you won when Danny Tesh was in there, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that's hard for me to believe, but I'll take your word for it. And Lachlan Adair. Interesting. Guy that's trying to break into the World Armwrestling League.
In my gym, I got a poster of some off and Dave Chafee pulling. So whenever I'm working on my weight stack, I see those two guys arm wrestling.
Hey, he's got a poster of Danny Tesh above his bed, as most of Australia have, and I've got one there too. Mate, thank you so much for joining us, Todd. It's been really, really good to catch up with you, and hope you'll come back on here soon. In fact, I've got something to ask you, parting shot before we're going. You know what I'd like to do?
What's that?
I'd like to get you on here with Rob Vigent Jr. How does that sound? Nightmare or a goer? Well, are you up for that?
I'm fine with it, but I mean, he might have a slightly different opinion. We've got tension in our history, but it's just because I'm so misunderstood.
Hey, ladies and gents, put some comments down there if you'd like to see this man on the same podcast with Rob Vigent Jr., former hammer holder and current hammer holder right here on the Supernatural Strength channel. Joking aside, we will do it. We'll try and get it to happen. He's up for it. Todzilla's up for it. Todd, mate, thanks for joining us. Really, really appreciate your time and for coming back on the show. And for all you guys out there, if you like what we do, please, first of all, remember to check that link, part 1. It's in the description. And also, if you like, if you share, if you subscribe, we would really, really appreciate it. We'll be back on here with more from myself and Todd very, very soon. In the time being, guys, I hope you and your family stay safe and